Jwhackers, Jessie here. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. For today's video, I am going to be taking our expense tracker that I filled out with you in a previous video, everything we spent in the last week. I'm going to plug this information here into my monthly budget so we can see how we're doing, if we are on track to come in under budget overall, or if we need to make some adjustments and try to figure things out for this last week coming up of the month in order to stick to that budget. I like to do a weekly check-in every week just so I can, see if we're on track. And that's what this video is. So we clearly had a metric ton of spending last week. So many grocery transactions. The last 2 weeks in a row, we have had kind of lower spend weeks, and we more than made up for it this week. So lots and lots of money spent this week, lots of things to go over. So let's just get into it. I am going to leave a link down below for my channel membership as well as for my Etsy shop if you're interested in getting these printable budget worksheets that I'm using here. That's how you can do it. You can join my channel membership at the Budget Bestie tier, and you get a whole bundle of worksheets that includes both of these here, or you can buy them on Etsy if you're not interested in a monthly subscription, monthly membership. So check that out if you're interested. Let's get started with these couple of bills here in green. So the way that I do my budget here in this monthly section is I write out my monthly budget. Some of these things are like one-time monthly expenses like bills. Other of these things is my overall budget for variable categories which I spend from each week. So the bills, when I pay, I just have to literally take this number and write it in the actual column of my bills. And for the variable expenses that we spend from week to week, I use these weekly sections to check in with those. So for bills, it's just one-time transactions here. I paid Sleep Number, and the amount that I paid was $300, just as I budgeted. And full disclosure, I technically paid these bills last week and just totally forgot to include them in my budget. So these dates that I wrote say the 14th. I think the actual day that I made the payments was the 10th. But for whatever reason, when I was checking in with my budget last week, I just totally spaced on those payments, and I wanted to make sure that I let you know that they were made, so I just plugged them in here. The other one was my Lowe's card for $100. So that was it for that. Now I'm going to come down here to this weekly section here. We're going to check in for week 3 of my variable spending, and there was a lot of it. So week 3 was May 14th through the 20th. My tracking week always starts on a Tuesday because that's when my husband and I are paid. So our week goes from Tuesday to Monday. And this is everything we spent in the following categories. We have auto pay, which is a line item in my budget for memberships and subscriptions that come out of my account automatically. We have grocery, which includes pretty much anything we can buy at like a Walmart. So all of our groceries, but then also all of our household items and some pet items, that sort of thing. We have eating out, which is any meal that we eat outside of the home, whether it be at a sit-down restaurant or, like takeout, fast food, that sort of thing. And then we have spending, which is kind of all of the other spending outside of those categories that we do. So I have all of my totals here. It's really easy to just, take a look and write the totals from one page to the other. I tracked all of my expenses here and then went through with a highlighter and highlighted them and added them all up to get my weekly totals. So for auto pay this past week, we spent $117.78. I don't know how well you can see that, but if you want more information, you can go back and watch that expense tracking video where I go in depth about everything. For groceries, we spent a whopping $472.84. For eating out, we spent $85.21. And for spending, we spent $172.49. And the grand total for the amount that we spent in all of these variable categories, if my math was accurate, is $848.32. So if you just look at the total here, you can see we spent significantly more this week than we have in the previous 2 weeks combined. And so I need to now figure out what we have left in each of these categories, because there's still 1 full week in my May budget. If we flip back here to my May calendar, I can show you that my May budget technically went from the first or the last Tuesday in April, the 30th, and it's going to continue to go until May 27th. The paycheck that we get on May 28th is going to actually start my June budget. That's the way that I like to do it. I just break it down by week, but I do like to get an overall picture for a monthly budget rather than doing a paycheck to paycheck budget. I have budgeted that way in the past, and that's worked okay for me as well. This is how I'm doing it now. And I use my hybrid budget worksheet, which is a worksheet that I designed for myself to make this super easy. It's everything I need to know about my monthly budget at a glance in 1 2-page spread, which I can't show you unless I completely zoom out here. You can see it there. It's everything I need. So that's how I budget. Maybe you budget differently. That's fine. Personal finance is personal. You can do whatever works for you. So let's figure out what we have left in each of these categories for week 4. Shall we? Zoom you back in here. So the way I do this is super easy. I have my overall monthly budget listed here in the monthly section, and I've been keeping track every week. So I take the amount of my monthly budget, I subtract what I spent that week, and then I get a remaining balance. And then the following week, I take that remaining balance and subtract what I spent that week and get a remaining balance. So on and so forth for each week of the month. We're on week 3 here. Last time I checked in with my auto pay category, I had $228.76 remaining. So that's where I'm gonna start here. We spent $117.78. So we have $110.98 remaining, which should be more than enough for that category. For things like groceries and eating out, I usually divide it out by however many weeks are left so I can get a feel for how much I can spend each week. For auto pay, I don't really do that because the auto pay items aren't dispersed evenly throughout the month. They just come when they come. So that's it for that line item. Next up for groceries. Started out the month with a $1,200 budget. At the end of last week, we had $832.75 remaining. Up until that point, we were doing so well on groceries. And this week I ruined it by spending a small fortune. We spent $472.84. That leaves me with $359.91. I typically budget around $300 a week for all of our grocery expenses. So we still have more than that available for the last week of the month, which is good. But I really wish that I had reeled it in a little bit this past week and could say that we were still like significantly under budget. I had all these big dreams of coming in like hundreds of dollars less than I budgeted and having extra money to put towards debt. But unfortunately, you know, the last couple of weeks spending less meant that we had a bigger void in our pantry and our fridge that we needed to fill. So we kind of made up for it and put us right back to what we would have been had we, you know, spent the money equally. You know what I'm saying? So $359.91, I don't think we're going to come in over budget on groceries. But now I kind of question whether we will be able to come in under budget like I had originally hoped. We'll see. We do have Memorial Day coming up, so we're going to have to shop for a big camping trip. We'll see. Hopefully we can at least come in under budget there. All right. Next up, we have eating out. We started out the month with a $300 budget. At the end of last week, we had $128.57 remaining. and we spent $85.21 this past week. So we have $43.36 remaining in our eating out budget for that last week of the month. We spent more than that in the first, second, and third weeks each. So, might be difficult for us to stick under that unless we don't eat out at all, which would be ideal, but I don't know if that's realistic. It could go either way with this one. Maybe we'll come in under budget. Maybe we'll be a little bit over. We'll have to come back next week and find out. But $43.36 is usually not enough for us for a week of eating out. We'll see. I'm going to try to stick to that. Never know what's going to happen. We're going to be busy for sure this week. Maybe we'll run through a drive-through. Maybe we will not. It's a crapshoot. We'll see about that one. And then last but not least, we have spending here. I started out, well, the beginning of the month, we had a $500 budget. I ended out last week with $427.78. I tried to start that sentence like 3 times and messed it up all 3 times. So we hadn't, up until this point, spent very much money at all. This week we spent $172.49, which still isn't bad, I guess. That leaves us with $255.29 remaining for the last week of the month. I think we should definitely be able to come in under budget in our spending category, unless we just go off the rails and go shopping, which I do not anticipate. So that's good news. If we end up over budget in this eating out category by a little bit, hopefully we'll come in under budget in spending or grocery or auto pay to help offset it. I always like to get a total of what we have remaining for that reason, because if we go over budget in a category or two, but we are still under budget overall, I'm okay with it. So I just like to get a total that we can work with for next week, which is $769.54. So that's not bad. We spent less than that in the first couple of weeks of the month. Obviously, we spent more than that in week 3, but this was an exorbitantly high week of spending for us. So I think we're going to end up coming in under budget overall for our variable categories. We have some wiggle room here in our monthly bills where we've come in under budget. I always tend to budget our bills a little bit higher. That way we have sort of a built-in buffer, and then we also have a $200 buffer written in here. So I think overall we will be fine. I don't think we are going to come in as far under budget as I was sort of anticipating at the end of last week. Because we did so much grocery shopping this week, that kind of closed that gap that I was imagining. But we're still on track to come in under budget overall. So we're just gonna have to kind of see what week 4 has in store for us. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. That really helps out my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye, friends. Thanks for checking in with me.